In this video, I'll be showing you how to use SeedSigner with Sparrow Wallet on desktop. This video is part 3 of the SeedSigner series, and if you don't have an assembled SeedSigner, I suggest you go ahead and watch part 1 first. I will leave a link below to all my SeedSigner guides. Also, if you are new to Sparrow Wallet, I have a whole bunch of guides available, like how to download and verify Sparrow and how to use it for the first time. You can also find a link to all my Sparrow guides in the description below. Alright, so let's boot up our SeedSigner and get started. Here I have my SeedSigner booted up, and before we get started, let's take a look at the settings menu over here. So I'm going to click on settings, and the first setting is persistent settings. So if I click on this, we have the option to store our settings in the SD card. If you have this enabled, your settings will save on the SD card, but if this is disabled, your settings won't save, and when you power this thing off, your settings will be set back to the default. So I'm going to exit this screen, and next is coordinator software. So this video is a Sparrow Wallet video, so I've only got Sparrow on, but you will select whichever software you are using. If I exit this, next is denomination display. You can select whichever denomination you wish. I just leave it on the default. So let's exit this, and next is our advanced settings. So if we click on this, I have most of my advanced settings on default. I'll show you what we do need on for this video. Firstly, under Bitcoin network, you will need this on mainnet. Unless you want to test it out first, you can do that on testnet. Next, we have QR code density. You can leave that on default. XPub export, make sure this is enabled, which should be the default. Then under script types, make sure you've got native SegWit on, which should be on by default. And the rest, you can just leave them all. They should be good. All right, so I'm going to exit this screen. And here we are back in the home screen. And the first thing we need to do is create a new seed on our SeedSigner. To do this, I'm going to scroll down to Tools over here. And we have 3 options for creating a new seed. Firstly, we have the camera. Secondly, we have dice rolls. And finally, we have the option to select the words ourselves. And then SeedSigner will calculate our 12th or 24th word according to the checksum. The method I like most is rolling dice, this one over here, and here is why. It is difficult for me to verify what the picture method does because I can't read code, so I can't verify how it all works, but that's not to say it doesn't work well. Now, for this option here, I don't trust myself to select words that are completely random. Even if I did use some method for selecting random words, I still wouldn't trust myself to generate those correctly. I feel like I'd be a bit biased. So the method I like is to use dice rolls. I like dice rolls because they are easy to verify. I show you how to verify dice rolls in the SeedSigner Guides Part 2. So go ahead and watch that if you wish to verify your rolls. Secondly, when I roll the dice, I'm not really trusting myself to generate randomness. I'm just rolling dice which are pretty random. And that's not to say these methods don't work well. This is just a personal preference. So I'm going to select dice rolls to create my new seed. Next, we need to select the length of our seed. So we've either got 12 words or 24 words. For 12 words, you'll need 50 rolls, and 24 words, you'll need 99 rolls. So for this video, we're going to do a 12-word seed phrase, and I'm going to quickly roll 50 dice. All right, here are my 50 dice rolls over here. I'm going to quickly insert these into the device. So we can see I've got 1, 3, 1, 5. So I'm going to select 1, then 3, then 1, then 5, and so on until I've done all 50 rolls. So give me 2 minutes to do that. Cool, so I filled in all my dice rolls, and it says here, you must keep your seed words private and away from all online devices. So I'm going to click I understand, and I'm going to write down my seed phrase. Now, it's super important to understand that anyone with these words can access your coins. These words are essentially your right to spend your coins. So that's why SeedSigner tells you to keep these words somewhere private, because if anyone else has them, they essentially have your Bitcoin. So let me go ahead and write these words down. All right, I've written all my words down. And another thing that's important to note is that SeedSigner is a stateless device, meaning it doesn't store your words on the actual device. So if you don't have these backed up, SeedSigner will wipe them and you won't have access to them anymore. So make sure to write these down. Now on my SeedSigner, I'm going to click Next. and then it's going to ask me to verify this backup, and this is a step you absolutely must do. So I'm going to click verify, and then it's going to ask me what each word is. So for example, word 1 is Olympic over here. You can see it's Olympic. So I'm going to select Olympic. And then word 7 is cancel. So I'm going to select cancel. And then I'm going to do this for all 12 words. Cool, I've entered all the words, and here it says backup verified. So I'm going to click OK. And now it's going to open this screen, the finalize seed screen. While recording this video, I forgot to mention that you should write down this unique fingerprint. It will show up in Sparrow Wallet and will help you identify which wallet in Sparrow belongs to which seed. So now we have the option to add a BIP39 passphrase, which will basically act as an extra word on top of our already 12 words. So it's super important that you also write that one down, because without it, you will no longer be able to access the wallet. So I'm not interested in having a BIP39 passphrase, but if you do, make sure to write that down. It is just as important as your first 12 words. So I'm going to click done on here. And here we have a whole bunch of settings or things we can do with our seed. Something really cool about SeedSigner is that you can back up your seed on a QR code like this. So here under the seed, if you go to backup seed, you have the option to export as seed QR. So click on that. And then we've got two options. Firstly, standard or compact. I printed out these QR codes from SeedSigner's GitHub. I'll leave a link below. But this here is a 21 by 21 option. So here we've got the 21, the compact option. If you look closely, we can see we've got 3 blocks. So 1, 2, 3 blocks. And each has 7 smaller blocks. So that'll be 21 by 21. So to back it up, I'm going to click on compact, and then I understand. And this is what our seed QR will look like. So I'm going to click on begin, and then I can go ahead and fill in all the dots. So this is A1, as we can see. So that would be the top left corner there, A1. But if I go right, this will be A2. So if we look, A2 is the top middle one. Now all I have to do is simply fill in the dots. So let me go ahead and do that. Block A2 is filled in, as we can see there. So what I'm going to do now is scroll down, because if I scroll to the right, it's going to open this one, which is already filled in. So I'm going to scroll down here, and there we can see it opens block B2. So that will be this one here, B2. So now I'm going to repeat this process for every block, and I'll see you when that's all done. All right, I've gone ahead and filled in all the dots. Here on the left, I messed this one up, so just ignore that one. I by mistake put block C3 in the C2 area, so make sure you pay attention to the grid position. Now, just a few notes. These dots here are fine. You don't have to fill in the whole block. It's actually better to put these dots in. When I tried to fill in the whole block, I made so many mistakes and it just wouldn't work. So these dots are a bit better than trying to fill in the whole block. Also, just keep in mind that this is another version or another way of displaying your seed phrase. So this must be kept somewhere safe and somewhere private, because this also gives you access to your coins. You'll notice that on this side, you can also write your words down, which I've gone ahead and done. Cool, so now that we have finished that, I'm going to go back to the SeedSigner, and then it says click to exit. So I'm going to click anything, and here it says, would you like to confirm the seed QR, which you absolutely should do. So I'm going to click on confirm seed QR, and then just scan my QR over here. And there we go, it says success. Your transcribed seed QR successfully scanned and yielded the same seed. So this means that this is the same seed that I've got written down here. Cool, so I'm going to click OK. And now we've successfully backed up our seed as a seed QR and as the words. So again, keep these somewhere safe and private. Anyone who has these has your coins. Now what we're going to do is export our XPub, which stands for Extended Public Keys, onto our Sparrow Wallet. Now it's important to note that we aren't exporting this seed phrase, we're only exporting the public key, which means Sparrow can see all our transactions and addresses, but it can't spend coins. So to do this, I'm going to click on Export XPub over here. Then I'm going to click Single Signature. And then it's going to warn me about this privacy leak because this XPub can generate all my addresses. So I'm fine for Sparrow to see this. So I'm going to click I understand. Now it's going to show my details over here. And then if I click on Export XPub, here is my QR code. So now I'm in my computer and I've got Sparrow Wallet running. So what I'm going to do is click File at the top here, then say New Wallet. Then I'm going to give it a name. So let's say SeedSigner. And then I'm going to say Video as well. And then click Create Wallet. Now on my SeedSigner, I exported single sig and I exported native SegWit. So I'm going to leave these both on the default here. And then I'm going to click over here on air-gapped hardware wallet. Now I select my hardware wallet. I'm using the SeedSigner, of course. So I'm going to click Scan over here next to SeedSigner. Just a little tip on your SeedSigner is you can adjust the brightness over here by pushing up or down on the left stick. So down is to decrease brightness and up is to increase brightness. It can sometimes be useful to decrease this brightness. So here in Sparrow Wallet, I'm going to scan my QR code. And there we go, it has picked everything up. Now, just as a little safety measure, I'm going to exit this screen on my SeedSigner. I'm going to go back to Seeds over here, then open my seed. Then I'm going to go to Export XPub again for single sig. I understand. And here we can see my ZPub is ZPub6QTW and so on and so on. Now in Sparrow, I'm just going to switch this XPub to ZPub over here and make sure it's exported the correct ZPub. So here we can see we've got the same ZPub 6QTWGD. So that matches, that's just a safety mechanism. So everything looks good. I'm going to click apply. And then for the sake of this video, I'm not going to set a password, but you should probably set a password. So I'm going to click no password. And there we go. My account is ready to go. I've got some addresses here. And yeah, we can start sending and receiving to our SeedSigner. To receive Bitcoin into my SeedSigner, all I'm going to do is click receive on the left of my screen here. And my address will display at the top over here. And just to the right of it will be the QR code. So if I click on that, the QR code will become nice and big. Now we also have the option to set a label, which I suggest you always do. This becomes super handy in the future when you need to spend coins and you would like to know where they come from. So for the sake of this video, I'll just be calling this test video. Now if I go to my addresses, we'll see this address has a label associated with it. So I'm going to go back to receive here. And now SeedSigner has a really cool feature where we can actually verify that this address is correct. So I'm going to make this big, just like that. And then I'm going to go to my SeedSigner now and then click scan. And I'm quickly going to scan this address on my screen. And this is what will show up. It says select seed to verify. I only have one seed loaded, so I'm going to click on that. And there we go. It says success, address verified. So my SeedSigner has verified that this is the correct address. I'm going to go ahead and send some Bitcoin to this address now. Alright, so here we can see in my notifications, we have a new mempool transaction. So if I go to my addresses, we'll see this address now has 99,000 sats in it. And if I go to UTXOs, here is the Bitcoin sitting in my wallet. So that is how you receive funds. I now have Bitcoin sitting in an address that belongs to this private key or seed phrase. So now that we know how to receive, let's take a look at how to actually send this Bitcoin to another address. So what we would need to do here is build the transaction in our Sparrow wallet, and then we need to export that transaction to our SeedSigner so that it can sign and essentially authenticate the transaction. There are two ways to build a transaction in SeedSigner. Firstly, we can just click on send and then enter our address and all the details and so on and so on. Or we can go to UTXOs and select the specific UTXO we wish to spend. This can become very useful if you have many UTXOs here and you wish to spend a particular one. So in my case, I only have this one UTXO, so I'm just going to click send over here, and then I need to enter my address. Here in this text file, I have my address saved, so I'm just going to copy this. Then I'm going to paste this into the pay to area. So just paste it in like that. And now I need to set a label. Again, I really suggest that you do set a label. It becomes really handy in the future. So I'm just going to say video test. Cool, so I've set a label. Now I must select an amount. So here you would enter how many sats you wish to send. So for example, 80,000 sats would look like that. But I want to send the entire balance. So I'm going to click max over here. Next, we can select a fee. So if we go to mempool.space, this is how I like to find the best fee. I'm just going to pay 20 sats because I'm not really in a rush. I don't mind if this takes pretty long. So I'm going to put it on, let's leave it on 21 sats. Cool, now I'm going to click create transaction, finalize transaction for signing. And now I've essentially built the transaction. And what I can do here is click show QR. Now this QR code we are seeing is the unsigned transaction, so it knows where we want to send the Bitcoin and so on, but it doesn't have a signature. So this is where our SeedSigner comes into play. What I'm going to do on my SeedSigner, just for demonstration purposes, is cut the power so that the seed erases itself. Now I'm going to power it back on real quick, and let's give it a bit of time to boot up. My SeedSigner has booted up, and here we are in the home screen. So just for demonstration purposes, if we look at our seeds here, it should have been wiped. And as we can see, there are no seeds currently loaded on the SeedSigner. So without the seed loaded, I'm going to exit this screen, then click scan, and I'm going to scan the code on my Sparrow Wallet. So here we can see the code, and here's my SeedSigner. I'm going to scan that. And there we go. Now we need to select a signer, as we can see. So let me change my camera back to the normal position quick. All right, here we are. And now it's giving us the option to load the seed that has permission to sign this transaction. So that seed is the seed we wrote down here. And we conveniently have a QR code. So all we have to do is scan it. So I'm just going to click scan a seed. Then I'm going to scan this QR code. Now we're essentially loading the key that has the right to spend these coins, and it says finalize seed. I'm going to click done. So now it's telling us exactly what this transaction entails. We're sending 96,702 sats. We have one input on the left there, then we have two outputs on the right, one being the send to address and the other one being the fee. Now I'm going to click review details. And now it's giving me a caution saying this is a full spend because it spends the entire input value and I'm not receiving any change back to the SeedSigner, which I'm okay with. I did this on purpose. So I'm going to click continue. And now it's just showing me more details about this transaction. The input is 99k sats. The recipient will receive 96,000 sats, well 96,702 sats. And the fee will be around 2,300 sats. And I'll receive no change from this. So that is fine by me. Everything looks good. So I'm going to click review recipients. And now it's going to show me the recipient's address just so I can confirm this looks right. So I'm going to take a look at my address here. It starts in BC1QNRW, which matches the one I've got here in my notes. And then on SeedSigner, we can see QVCMR7K at the end, which it matches on my notes. So everything looks good. I'm going to click next, and then I'm going to click approve PSBT, which stands for partially signed Bitcoin transaction. I'm going to approve the signature. And here's my QR code with the signed transaction. So this transaction is now signed and can be broadcast. Now back in Sparrow Wallet, I need to click scan QR, and then I'm going to show my SeedSigner's QR code there. Alright, Sparrow now has my signed transaction, and as we can see, I now have the right to broadcast this transaction because, again, it has been signed. If you want to, you can view the full transaction again, and this is what the raw transaction will look like. You don't really need to understand how this works. Cool, so now I'm going to click broadcast. And now my transaction has been broadcast onto the blockchain. So if I copy my transaction ID and then go back to mempool.space and paste in my address, we can now my transaction ID, we can now keep an eye on this transaction, and we'll see it won't confirm anytime soon, but that doesn't concern me. Now, just a quick recap of what we've actually done in this video. Firstly, in our SeedSigner, we created a key, which we backed up as a QR code and as a seed phrase. Next, we exported the XPub, or extended public key, from our SeedSigner to our Sparrow wallet over here. So in Sparrow, we loaded up our XPub, which is our public key. Next, we received coins into our SeedSigner by clicking receive in Sparrow. And then we went ahead and spent those coins. So what we did was we built a transaction in Sparrow. Sparrow has the right to build transactions, but it can't actually sign off on them. So we had to export this transaction over to SeedSigner. And in step 5, we actually gave it a valid signature. Now, with our signed transaction, all we need to do is export that back to Sparrow, and Sparrow broadcasts that transaction to us. And that is the end of this video. If you found this valuable and wish to support me, liking and subscribing is free, and you can also leave a tip. I will leave a link below. Cheers everyone, and I will see you in part 4 of the SeedSigner series.